So today we're diving into Margot Minko's really poignant short story, The Address. It's this powerful story about a daughter who returns after the war, hoping to reclaim her mother's belongings. But what she finds is that sometimes memories and the things we own aren't connected in the way we think they are.
The story kicks off with this absolutely chilling line. I mean, right away, it just throws you into the aftermath of this immense tragedy. It sets this tone of loss, of the grim reality of just trying to survive. A single question that tells you so much about what's been lost during the war.
All right, so the story really gets going with the narrator's first visit to this specific address, a place that literally holds the key to her entire past. Let's see how that very tense first meeting plays out. So she gets there, she introduces herself, and the reaction she gets is just ice cold. Mrs. Dorling is standing there with her hand on the door, kind of physically blocking the entrance to the narrator's own past. And her face, it shows, and I quote, absolutely no sign of recognition. You can feel the tension right from that first moment. And then she sees it, the proof. Mrs. Dorling is wearing her mother's green knitted cardigan. This one single object confirms everything. The narrator knows for sure she's in the right place, and this unspoken, heavy history just hangs in the air between them. And just like that, Mrs. Dorling's dismissal is so abrupt, so final. She shuts the door, leaving the narrator standing there on the step, completely rejected from her own memories. This cold refusal is what forces the narrator, and us as readers, to go back in time to figure out how things ever got to this point. Okay, so to really understand what Mrs. Dorling is doing, we have to rewind. We have to go back to the war, to this arrangement that was made under the disguise of kindness and trust. This comparison just perfectly shows the conflict at the heart of the memory. You see, the narrator's mother truly saw Mrs. Dorling as a savior, someone risking her own safety to protect their precious things. But the narrator, even back then as a young girl, she saw something else entirely. She saw a woman who was systematically emptying their home, one suitcase at a time. You know, when the narrator voices her doubts, her mother looks at her reprovingly. It's a look of disapproval, almost like she's being scolded. And this tiny detail, it just shows the mother's complete and maybe a little naive trust in Mrs. Dorling, a trust that the narrator just could not bring herself to share. So the whole thing hinges on this address. It's the last instruction the narrator gets from her mother. It's this final, tangible link to a home and a family that the war was about to completely erase. The address itself practically becomes a character in the story. Okay, so fast forward. Years later, after life has sort of started to return to some fragile version of normal, the narrator decides to try again. And this time, she actually gets inside. But what she finds, well, it's even more disturbing than a closed door. This line, wow, it just perfectly captures the surreal horror of that moment. The things in the room are familiar. They're her things. But the setting is all wrong. It's this disorienting, almost suffocating experience of seeing your own life displayed like decorations in a stranger's house. So as she's looking around, she's taking this mental inventory. The Hanukkah candle holder, the tablecloth, the cutlery. Every single item is like a ghost from her past. These things were once cherished family heirlooms, part of a loving home, and now they're just clutter in a strange, tasteless room. The narrator describes the smell as muggy, and this word isn't just about the weather. It's about the oppressive, heavy atmosphere. The air itself feels thick with stale memories and betrayal. It's a fantastic word choice. And this, right here, brings us to the absolute core of the story. Surrounded by her own past, the narrator has this incredibly painful realization about the connection between our things and our memories. She finds a little burn mark on the tablecloth, a familiar flaw that she remembers. It's the definitive proof that the object is real, that her memory is spot on. But finding it brings her zero comfort. There's no feeling of home. The magic, that connection, it's just gone. She says this out loud, almost talking to herself. And it's such a profound thought, isn't it? These objects only had meaning because of the life that was lived around them. Once you sever them from that life, from the people who loved them, their sentimental value just vanishes. They're just things. So, as she stands up to leave, the narrator makes this final, really powerful choice about her relationship with her own past. It clicks for her. She realizes that reclaiming these possessions isn't going to bring back her mother or the life she lost. Actually, seeing them like this is way more painful than not seeing them at all. They've become anchors to a grief that she needs to move on from.
And that's her resolution. In what feels like an act of self-preservation, she decides to just let it all go. Forgetting the address is symbolic, you know? It's a conscious choice to release the burden of a painful past and finally look toward the future.
So that's the narrative journey. But the story's real power, I think, lies in the questions it leaves us with. To really grasp its weight, let's put on our analyst hats for a minute and look at it through a more critical lens.
I mean, a story this rich brings up some really profound questions about the human condition. It forces you to ask, after everything is lost, how do we even begin to process that trauma? And what's the real value of our stuff when the people and places they were connected to are just gone?
To help us break it all down, let's walk through these 5 steps to get a deeper insight. We'll start by unpacking that clue in the very first line, then think about the unspoken hardships of war, analyze the powerful symbolism of her choice to forget, and see how this all connects to the broader human experience and the painful betrayal of trust.
These are the kind of questions that really make you dig deep. The first one, it pushes us to see how the story's tragic scope is hinted at right from the start. The second one asks us to read between the lines and imagine the suffering the narrator went through. Question 3 gets to the psychological heart of it all. Was forgetting an act of weakness, or was it an act of strength? The fourth asks us to see this not just as one person's story, but as a universal story about what happens after conflict. And finally, analyzing Mrs. Dorling, that forces us to look at the story's darkest themes, human greed and the betrayal of trust when times are at their worst.
And that leaves us with this final big question to chew on. The address seems to suggest that our real connection to the past isn't stored in things, but somewhere else entirely. So where is it? Is it in the memories we choose to hold on to? Or is it in the strength we find to let some of them go? A really powerful thought to end with.